He should be back, I think, on Wednesday. She's supposed to be back on Wednesday, Keisha. Millie's in Park City.
It's supposed to be sunset before, because the states and sunrise, and this is our like. So anyway, so we go by that.
No, it's kind of an area that nobody has to. So we can even wait for the one. They know. But at least actually, philosophy, and then walking on places that you have, right, which is. And after the one up and down. I think.
Well, instead of going swimming, that's like.
Why are we not the?
Rain. Light rain.
Yeah,
I have a quick question.
sure.
How soon will the proceedings be available on YouTube?
For this, you mean? It's live on YouTube during the meeting.
Right,
So
but afterwards?
don't know.
Beyond?
I guess you can just pull it back up again. I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I can ask Millie for you when she gets back, but I would think it would just be there,
Okay.
hopefully.
Thank you.
Sure. How do I, wait, it doesn't have the thing at the top now. Okay, Allison's there. How do I get me to be the big one?
So then savings, tell, shoot around, somebody do, and then they sat. In
Okay.
the second row of seats. And then-
Oh, here we go. You know. Do you know why I'm not the main person here? Why am I not the main person? Like the camera's not working. Huh.
Gosh, we're almost ready to go.
I don't see, the camera here. Like it's not showing the
Because the
video.
alarm went on.
Video settings. Oh, dear. I don't know how to, usually Tom gets that going. Whiteboard. Huh. Video control, video.
I'm trying to read. I was thinking to see. I was thinking to see, or I'm super frowning. I was trying to see, I think it says talking, trying to show on Zoom.
Yeah,
Is
but
that what it says?
yeah, it does say that, but I need the camera to work. Like the camera doesn't appear to be working. You know what I mean?
Tristan and I have matching shirts on today. That damn camera better work.
Hey, Mike, do you know anything about the camera?
It's a boys only, Molly.
I wonder if there's something in here. Hang on one second. Tom always goes in the background.
Yeah.
We're having technical difficulties.
We have one sport about seconds.
Yeah. It's only going here.
No, I don't think so. I mean, yeah. It's, I didn't know other people. It's a problem.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's trying to, let's turn it back on again.
Yeah, so it was live, it was just video.
Hmm?
So it's just the video, because I can hear. She's talking, so. Is there another?
I have no idea, because it's always just comes on. I don't know how to run it. Tom's not here, so I have to run
Yeah.
the thing. Right?
So it's just the video, because I can hear.
I have no idea, because it's all.
We're pulling the shellfish enclosure off the consent calendar. There for some hard for us.
I've got some questions about it. With that conflicting documents.
We do, yeah.
No, they're actually,
Yeah.
well, we can talk about
The
this.
sunrise and it's that whole. It's been a problem since we began.
I went to their office and they explained it.
You're right.
I went in there this afternoon and they explained it.
What did they say? It's supposed to be sunny. The inheritance is here. It's supposed to be now.
We have an app.
Copies of the agenda.
Oh, we had heard you on.
Well.
I can go make these them. I don't have any. I can make one. I'll make them.
I'll go make some. I feel like we're so connected. Even with.
Well, you said you make them copies.
Let's do these too.
Yes.
Oh, I printed it out and left it in my printer.
So that's a problem for us. Why?
It's not. Only because Laurel's out there making copies, that's what.
Oh, is Nick Salino or James here? James or Nick, are you here?
Yes, I am Nick Salitra.
Somebody was saying, wasn't it?
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah, it's not really bad. It's always been.
Um,
You want to take it off the consent calendar?
Well, it depends what we're acting on, it's a map and we're
Or we're acting on the approval of the 24-25 shellfish book.
correct. And the narrative says sunrise, the map says sunset.
Thanks, Jared. Great job on the shellfish.
I'm just impressed, but
It's been years before I get to this. But they're different, that's.
Right, when we get to, I went in the office today and.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Okay.
I'll take it
Well,
off.
we have two.
I'll take it off.
Yeah. It's simple, it's not complicated. I just don't want to put these documents.
Well, do you know whether Nick's here or?
Nick is definitely here and Allison is here. I'm talking to Tom right now to see if we can get.
Hang on. Do you want me to, oh, who is this?
I looked it over. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you can find all.
Today, I got on.
Well,
So,
I mean,
That's impressive.
I hate it when I get like. Walking on so separately, I just have they go.
Just at that point, I was putting in the-
Yeah, so. But I do that, yeah. Try to come to the top. There has been a lot of slow reaching out about doing the right shows.
But it's always nice. After they go, so-
Hey, Millie.
That's how you stop.
The screen is just black.
Thank you very much for your patience.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Stop.
I just make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the computer and on the board is both black. Like it's like the camera's not working, but the camera's on. It shows a light. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It just, yeah, it just gets smaller when I tap the screen. You know what I mean? It becomes smaller in the, you know, like it's only taking up part of the screen. You can see that part,
Oh, yes.
it's like a blank Zoom, you know, like when we shut it down in your office, like if there's a closed session, that's what I see. Just black. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's running and it's recording and it's on YouTube. So on YouTube, all you can see is black. Weird, right? And Tom's not here.
I think you might have to.
Voice only. Okay.
I'm sure it's well, it's way it stops.
Right, right. No. Mm-mm. Oh, yeah, yeah, and I can make us, you know, I can remove the pin, make us a pin. I can see that Nick's there waiting and Allison's there waiting. And their names pop up, you know, but,
And
mhm,
that meeting,
right,
I could see efforts moving. And this.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
no, that's on, that's on.
You have to have these moments.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, presentation controls, display on, display off, you know, I can go to video controls. And I go to move the camera, but it's black, so it doesn't matter, like the screen, like on the wall is black. Yeah,
And I like the black.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You put it 40 by the break.
Okay.
And the turbine goes to the.
Right now. Okay. Okay. You have to start. Okay, thanks. Right. Yeah, yeah. All right, thanks, Mel. Sorry about that. Yeah, sure. Bye. Oh, okay. Get up on a chair and unplug the cable to the camera. And then plug it back in. One last thing.
If you subsequently get a good volume with a camera.
Speaking of song.
So we've got to make an announcement that it's voice only, apparently it has to reset. And then you have to do that with the vendor. I'm gonna unmute you right now. Go ahead.
So we're all set.
Yeah,
And Nick and Allison, we set our own.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Hello, everybody. Thank you for your patience today. Close meeting of the Charlotte Town Council was ordered today, Monday, March 4th. 2024 is 7/12. For those of you who are either streaming on YouTube or watching this meeting on YouTube, we're having camera issues, so it will only be an audio stream tonight. Which is really unfortunate because I look especially good. I know people know. I know. Is there any public comment tonight?
On that, or just?
Yeah, right, exactly. We have, as usual, a consent agenda. We have pull item B off because there is a discrepancy between the and the words, and we just want to clarify that and get that done. But can I have a motion to approve matters A and C on the consent agenda, please?
So can I, before we do that, can I clarify something on C,
Yes.
hunting? So, sorry, so for this. This doesn't have anything to do with dates.
No, it doesn't. That's a good question and an important one, as you can see, from the document that's on Clerkbase, it's signed by, Molly Fitzpatrick. This is an old and annual thing where we have to sanction the very idea of hunting on Block Island according to, an ordinance that was passed in 2014.
Okay, and I just wanted to clarify that because, for anyone here, anyone listening, you know, we did discuss hunting at our last meeting and the article in the newspaper is highly inaccurate. If you listen to the meeting, which I hope you will, at no point were we discussing, shotgun hunting on weekends. We were discussing the possibility of having archery hunting on one weekend on private property only. So, we also did not make a decision on that. So just in case you've read the paper and you think we've lost our minds, we haven't. I just wanted to clarify.
Definitely.
Martha wasn't there. She has lost.
So, good points, I'm glad you brought that up, Holly. Can I have a motion to approve items A and C on the consent agenda?
Second.
All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those no, ayes have it. Now on matter B, 2024-2025 shellfish closure, Councilor Ball.
Come on, you just.
Or,
So, as Martha pointed out to us before the meeting, the map and the narrative are a little confusing when you mesh them. And I went to Harbor Master's office today, they explained it. I was doing what I think you might be doing, which was I was trying to match A, B, and C to sections, but they are not sections, they are just dates. So closure A, sunset May 24th to October 14th. Is for the first section of the pond that includes all the marinas and Trims Pond. Closure B is the one that moves that line north. Right, and then closure C. Is the entirety of it. Does that make sense? I thought it was confusing too.
Well, it is. It is confusing because, it goes back to, a very long time ago when, we were, as we still, hold the position of we're going to have control of the pond. If the state says sunrise of Saturday, we'll say sunset of Friday. That, how do you remember it again?
Yep.
Yeah, this has been a confusion for, it seems like every year that I've been on the council.
please, come up here, George, make sure the green light is on, microphone, please.
It's on, so your confusion is, well understood, recognized. I was trying to explain this to the new commission members at our last meeting, and it became clear that they couldn't understand it because C was essentially a duplicate of what was already in there. And so we made the motion and changes to that. We got rid of C altogether. So the text and the map don't agree. I'm not sure why you're looking at the text.
Well, we shouldn't have, you're saying we should just be only acting.
Correct.
That's all we need to know.
Well, we modified the text to my knowledge, but clearly you're not looking at the
Yeah.
modified document. Right.
So here's the question, this is procedural, if you guys are comfortable, I'm comfortable. But, does it make sense to clarify the words that the council is approving and have it on the agenda next time?
I think that's fine. In fact, we thought we'd done that, it didn't come through that way, sorry.
I'd be much more comfortable with that. Okay,
Thanks.
is that okay with you, Molly, Martha?
Yep, absolutely.
Great. Sure.
I don't- And when we do this, the next time, can we be sure that this, can we sure, when the narrative is redone, can we be sure that it's dated? That's one of the problems that happens when these things get flipped over through time.
Very good. I'll never know that.
Thank you, Jerry. All right, item 3, we need to to set a public hearing date for proposed amendments to the Shawn zoning ordinance. These are this is the second batch of consistency ordinances, consistency with state statute. I must admit that I have not reviewed this set, but this is just to set a public hearing. And Laurel, you said that's April 17th.
Correct.
Can I have a motion to set a public hearing date for these for April 17th, 2024, please?
So,
Second, please. Terrific. All those in favor of setting the public hearing for April 17th, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. On to item number 4, receive an act on a request for town's waiver of right of first refusal for small town settlement, moderately priced unit A5. Holly, I'm going to apologize for you at the outset here. Come on. Because this is harder for me. We've done this before, and this one for some reason, not for some reason, for a really specific reason is a challenge. For me. I think the whole rationale behind this policy and the documents and documentation is for a year-round resident. And you and I have thought about how desperately we need year-round housing. And you see that those requirements in the deed, and we have a letter from a prospective buyer who is not a year-round resident. He aspires to be one. And I don't, and I applaud that, and I don't know the couple, but and frankly, I don't know that the town would even want to exercise its right of first refusal. But it's a challenge because the deed says it's supposed to go to a year-round person, and I understand that, and I think probably, you know, we all would have argued for that. And in some respects, the letter from the prospective buyer contradicts what we're required to do pursuant to the deed and presumably ordinance. So I don't know if others have similar, but that was my reading.
The letter from the buyer was to,
Mike's known.
Yeah.
the letter was in an effort to determine the prospective buyer's willingness and intent to become a year-round resident. As they mentioned, they have been in the past and they would like to be again, and due to family reasons, they had to leave and they're not trying to come back. Understandably so, there's some transition for them. You know, the goal is that this accommodates a year-round person and ultimately work for our, you know, sellers as well. And so we're, you know, our goal is to get somebody in there who intends to live there year-round. It's been on the market for quite some time. There was, you know, there have been other offers on the table, so this wasn't a matter of, you know.
A quick deal for someone.
No,
Yeah.
it's been a while.
I think that's
Our
fine.
perspective, you know, offers at this time that we received this one. And the current seller is also in a similar situation where they were not at the time fully year-round resident, but they intended to be, and they were. And now that they can't be anymore, they are not.
Sure, yes, yeah. I'm not trying to get anybody to write down on this, but you know, when you read the two documents, you know, that these are questions that things. All the reason, that's something.
Well, I was gonna say, on the one hand, I feel like their letter sinks their ship. Yet, the question is, does the town want that?
Right.
So the question isn't, like, we aren't deciding whether they can buy it, we're deciding, do we wanna buy it? Do we wanna buy it?
Not that I'm aware of, and it's been on the market for a while. I think perhaps we should take this as illustrative of kind of where this council is on this stuff, you know, I mean, you know, I don't want to obstruct the transaction. But I do want to point out that this transaction may not be consistent with the underlying deed or the underlying condo documents. You know, with a 21 degree.
So the deed specifically says that it cannot be rented.
Yes, yeah, it says this,
So-
the moderately priced units must at all times be owner occupied by full-time New Shoreham residents.
Okay, I thought I read somewhere that it could not be rented.
That's in there too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, you're right.
And they don't. They understand it.
So. Again, I'll have to go back to like, I guess the real question, the agenda question is, do we want to buy it? Do we want to exercise our first right of refusal?
Right.
Um. The other part of it seems like a different conversation, but a really pertinent one. Obviously, we don't want to find out down the line that. Units, this one or any other one intended for year-round rental are being rented weekly. That's, but it's sort of a separate issue. I can't see a situation where we want to buy this. We're
No,
putting up some other housing right now. What housing board is working on
Yep.
16 units. So I would say this, like, should we, do we want to exercise our right? I would say no.
Any other comments? Okay. You have anything?
I don't, I mean, there were things that probably. There were things that probably should have been done differently, but they weren't. And, I think everyone, when this was put together, it was with the best of intentions and everybody. Hoped it would work out a little bit better than it has, and unfortunately, we have no control over. Is this just that, what zone is this in? No, I know that, what is the zone you're in? Do we, is that a special? Was this? Planned unit development, is that planned unit development? Can't remember. I'm sorry, it didn't even cross my mind, but,
Is anybody?
I don't think we should buy it.
I'll make a motion for that.
Second,
Any comments? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
I-
All those no. Yes, have it. All you burn your commission on this.
I hope they do move carry around. Nice to have them.
Met them and I choose to put the intent.
Wonderful. I really look forward to meeting.
And, you know, I did my best to try to get this in front of the locals that are.
Yeah. You know, you're,
And, thank you guys.
thank you.
And we appreciate their honesty, and
Yeah.
I'm not pretending they're gonna be there all the time.
But they will.
A lot of people would have said, we're gonna be here every day, forever,
Yes.
from day one.
Thanks, Ally.
Thank you guys.
Take care, Howard. Thanks. Item number 5, discuss town process for addressing private resiliency. So, I asked to put this on the agenda. We've received a lot of feedback, I think we all have, about a particular project. But, and, you know, fine, that project is underway and, you know, God bless. But what it has raised in my mind is, I think it's quite likely that, projects of this sort are going to become much more common. Landowners are gonna want to do them, you know, much more, frequently. And it has struck me that this is a time where we need to be thinking about the fact that we may see more of these types of projects. That we have to, as a result of that, make sure that we are all comfortable, as a council and as a community, that we have, the appropriate processes and oversight in place at the municipal level, of these types of projects. That we review the existing policies, review the existing ordinances. I think we need to work with our land use attorney or with Nick, if you're still on, to really talk about, not Sven's not here, and I'm gonna use the phrase Venn diagram. Yeah, there's a Venn diagram here where, there's municipal authority, and I'm not quite sure what that is, and there's CRMC's authority, which I always assume is relative, pretty much absolute in a way. And I'm not sure what we have the right or ability to do. So there's an essential part of this sort of near-term analysis is, okay, someone may advocate for, whatever, stopping these projects altogether. Sort of pick up right now. Well, we may not have the authority to do that. I don't know what we have. Similarly, I think, we have a very compelling interest, as a town in what these projects are designed to do, what the impact of these projects might be on abutting waterfront landowners. Frankly, it's down on the list, but it is a list. What is the bluff line, shoreline end up looking like? If we have a patchwork of some erosion control project there, no erosion control project there. What does it all look like? Do we, for example, create a policy that we look more favorably on multiple property owners getting together and deciding to do their thing together? There's all sorts of possibilities here that dramatically outstrip my understanding. That's never stopped me before. And I would like, my real objective and ask is, would another of you or on the council be willing to work with me with the sea level rise folks, with Karen Browning, with Mike Shea, with, sort of, we have got to come with the conservation organizations, and I'm sure I've missed someone, but you know what I'm saying, to sort of develop a coherent town policy that may be ordinance based. I'm not sure even what form it would take, but we have, in my opinion, if we wait 9 months to do something on this, I think we literally could have 6 more projects like this, the horses out of the barn, and we will be playing catch up. In fact, I think we're playing catch up now, but if people are comfortable with that, I think we need to look back.
I think first and foremost, we have to really get delineated where we are, where CRMC is, how we fit into their process. I think that's the absolute first thing to be done. It feels as though we don't have the level of communication we as a municipality that we used to have with them. And there were so many more layers of government. I think one of the problems, and I sound like an old person, but we used to get it's not an old person because I'm an old person. But we used to get paper documents. This was happening, and so many things come through email now that it's sort of like, oh, CRMC, but whatever. And it's real easy to lose that that filter, that the gatekeeper. We just don't seem to have that right now. I think a lot of people were taken aback by the project out on the bus. I think it's I know we're dancing around this down by Scotch Beach, and it's kind of stunned me that this whole thing was going in, you know, people have been putting stairs and people have been doing this, people have been doing that. And then bam, they turned into a version of what they've been fighting about in Nantucket for years. As some of you know, it's not my objective for Block Island. So I think that's the first thing before marshaling forces here, we have to find out where CMC is, how this particular project got through the pipeline. It seems like there were some pieces that might have been missing. And I think we have to develop a stronger working relationship with them. I think, Mike, you are in contact with some of these folks, or is Harvest now? I don't know who's in touch with CMC so much anymore.
Well, we know, because we just had a meeting with Marion, they said you and I. And
Yeah.
Marianne need to meet.
I think that's the first thing we have to do.
You guys appoint people now for all the permits. Well, I think, you know, I wish I could say yes to that, honestly. I think Martha raises a really important point, because I feel I'm about to say something that I do not mean as a criticism of CRMC, it's more sort of on us. I don't feel like there's really, you know, CRMC is a bit of a mystery. And that doesn't mean they're not doing their job, it just means that I don't feel like, you know, I'll get questions about, you know, what's going on with that CRMC permit, and I literally don't know. And you know, I think a stronger, frankly, just a conversational, I'm not talking about intervening permit processes, I'm talking about having a relationship with a regulator, which is essential. I think we need to work on it. There were a bunch of hands up back there. I told them to get me.
But can I just ask really quickly too, you said that you two had a meeting with Marianne, can you tell us about that?
We
Or-
literally bumped into one another in Marion's office. I was talking about kind of generally this. And Martha and I said the same thing, which Martha just gave voice to, which is, I don't have any idea how of basic CRMC process and where the town fits with the CRMC process, etc.
And I know Marianne's not here tonight, but like, did she explain to you what the process is?
No, she was
or-
going to reach out and schedule a meeting for us to have a conversation.
Okay.
And sort of get that ball rolling. Nigel?
So first, yeah, the Sea Level Rise Committee certainly discussed this, and for us it was a total eye-opener too. I think we're totally supportive of this idea that there needs to be a town process. The one thing I would say is that it seemed like this particular permit actually sort of slipped through, probably incorrectly. These permits are supposed to be signed off by the town before they can even be started. And there is no signature under the zoning portion. So it's not that it has to be approved by the zoning, it has to be signed off that there isn't even an issue. So I understand.
So my recollection, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just sort of for conversation purposes. I can remember in the dark recesses of my mind being on zoning, and there was one over by Old Harbor Points, I think, that came before us at the zoning. I was specifically sort of trying to describe this as a prospective process, because, you know, maybe somebody failed to sign or sign something, you know, that happens when you have the volume of stuff that we have. But it does point out that it needs to be very clear what our, you know, assuming we develop a process, we go through the CRMC, It's gotta be very clear, it's gotta be very consistent, and it's gotta be applied fairly, because another part of this ballgame, frankly, is you do have people who own property, and they have rights too, you know, it's not. So, you know, you're right, I seem to recall that at least one, when I was on zoning, of these, what do you call them, erosion control projects? Rebecca, I don't know what the right term is, came before us. They did some of the same things that we're seeing on Scott Beach, if I recall correctly, those, what do you call it, cocoa? Yeah, I don't even know how that one worked out, but that's what I remember too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is that CRMC are not supposed to look at these things
Without-
until the town has signed off.
Mhm.
And the building official has signed off, but there's an unsigned line for zoning. And that was not signed off, and so I don't think that CRMC should even have looked at it.
That's the hardest thing,
You want to see.
maybe,
I trust my.
the thing is, we have seen that, and Mark was the contact, the CRMC for years. And Danny Hart was before that. And things had to be run through them before CRMC would deal with it. And maybe CRMC just, if you're looking at South County, we look like we're easy. South County's a god awful mess right now. With problems of beach access and who's doing what where. But I do think when you talk about property rights, and this is one of the things that's come up, and I think will come up. If you're talking about my property rights, what about my neighbors?
Yes.
And it all ties together, and that's where we really
Yeah.
feel like, I'm not a global person, but in a place like this, you feel we have to. look at-
And we have projects that were public projects that have dramatically affected what our shoreline is.
Yeah, but go back to great.
Yes, exactly. That's
So-
exactly.
I'll get this
You
picture of
can
it all.
see adjacent property affects all rests of the land, stop feed.
Yeah.
So I have a question too, to clarify, if we have a contracted building official right now, that's the person who signs off on this. So I'm guessing, since that's our process right now, but perhaps that's where we could address this. We could say that our contracted building official cannot sign off on something like this without some sort of higher authority.
We decide that makes a lot of sense.
I thought it was the zoning that hadn't been signed up on.
Yeah, I mean, the building signature is simply to say there's no building involved, therefore, as far as I'm concerned, it's okay. The zoning, I mean, that's what they require the signature for. Yeah.
And to me,
It's the zoning that was absent.
if there was a ball dropped or a slip through or whatever, to me, it is, we have to make clear that this kind of work is a priority. In other words, this is not one that should fall through the cracks. No, this is not a, window trim. This is fundamental and existential from the island's perspective. That's why I'm suggesting that we have this conversation, because, we may have some, Mike's input is essential on this, like what works, because what I've been hearing from the town is there's some real concern that we may not be ready for the volume of projects that we're getting, or for the implications of the projects that may be proposed, and we've got to make sure that we have an airtight policy, in my opinion.
I mean, the Sea Rights Committee was certainly discussing seriously, I think all in agreement that we need a sort of a local moratorium on such projects until we have a process. And I think that needs to be one way or another. Stopping everything until we can decide how we're going to deal with it.
I don't know
We're
whether,
afraid.
I don't know what-
expansion.
I don't know whether we can do them.
Well, I guess
That's why I said that.
That's your problem.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you.
That before.
So, sure.
I would also like to suggest that before you make any decisions, that you do a close observation of past projects to see what the changes to the territory or the land have become due to these processes, so that you have a scientific base backup. Because depending on what you read, some things will say these corridor laws last 3 to 4 years, others say 5 to 10 years. It would be interesting to see how long they really last.
So it's interesting you should say that, because I'm giving my initial take on it. To me, that science is firmly in CRMC's, in other words, like, I don't think there's anybody in the town, maybe Mike is particularly interested in the science of these lots, but we have, at some point, we have to rely on, scientific arbiters at the state level where, where they can help us to, they can make some of these.
We could interview the immediate neighbors of previous projects, such as the Molino property on the South Shore, and see how they feel about the effects of.
Sure.
the project.
Sure.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
We're moving forward, at least we're gonna have an in-house review.
Yes.
And that's last, we're gonna deposit and then what deal.
And then, we've got to do come on up first, we've got to do what is the CRMC role, what's our role? And see what, I'd be happy to see what other communities are doing, this is just something that I know is important and compelling. But I don't have any great answers about what it needs to look like. And frankly, what our existing infrastructure can handle in terms of, the work that's very dirty.
Anyway, so I've done a little research on what our relationship with the CMC, how that works. I was intrigued by this a little bit because on the Shellfish Commission, we came across this and we had to do a aquaculture.
Yeah.
So I realized their authority is pretty broad and
Yeah.
pretty superior.
Yeah, I've been following some of those cases on the mainland.
Right, and so I've been in contact with them and said, I asked them, and they've been very forthcoming, I mean, certainly at the level of the administrative help, I said, can I get on the mailing list for everything that happens on Block Island? And they said, no, we do not do that unless the project rises to the level that a public notice is required. And so to do that, for one, it would, if you don't get municipal approval sign off, then public notice is required, but it also is something that takes a very specific set of conditions unless your municipal code creates one of those conditions. So I'll try to be kind of brief, but so CRMC does notify through public notice for projects that meet the specifications of public notice, which means you have a substantive objection, what they call substantive objection, I'm sorry. And when you read what those objections are, the only one that stands out, I mean, most of these are technical in nature regarding watershed, regarding control, but there is one that gives the town or municipality at least a chance to require a public notice. And that is the last one of the objections. Evidence that the proposed activity or alteration does not conform to states or duly adopted municipal development plans, ordinances, or regulations. And so we don't have apparently ordinances, or if we do, they don't seem to have addressed these issues. So that's, and you've spoken to that before, so that's one way to quickly get to the place where we're gonna have, we could have public hearings.
And yeah, I think that's the argument for what I'm talking about, which is let's figure out what ordinances we have and then what ordinances we need in order to ensure that to the greatest extent possible, we have say in this sense. Thank you, George, for doing that. And
So one of the properties that was affected by recent bluff collapse was, St. Andrew's Parish Center,
yeah,
right behind it, and we went and looked at it yesterday. The two abutting properties to the north also received CRMC approval to do prolonged projects in 2019. I don't know when they were installed, but if you go over there, don't get too close, but look to the north. The Curlogs have collapsed in that abutting property. I have a photograph from yesterday. Mary sent one from a month ago, and it looked better a month ago than it does now, but it just makes you wonder if those Curlogs.
Yeah.
Right there. St. Andrew's property.
yeah.
Taken, pretty good. So it just, you know, I know that the CRMC application says that this can last 4 to 10 years. It sounds like that's maybe 4 years.
Yeah, and I think one of the, I was just sort of anecdotal that I was talking to Bing Transu about the one on Scott Beach, and one of the things that struck me as a total layman stuff is how much of the work is occurring upland. Because I always think of you know the smashing waves, and in fact a lot of the erosion occurs with the upland drainage. And I think they're doing a lot of work to sort of pitch that water in sort of away from the bluff somehow.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit like an engineer, didn't I? You know, something.
And maybe another point, and I think there are, like my son went surfing yesterday and told me that when he was, right after he left Vail, some portion of the left there collapsed and kind of Fall Point as well. It looked to him like it was, and I just, like, thinking about how does the town assess, you know, maybe it's happening, but I mean, it's public safety issues too, and you know, could we get a drone to look around the island at what's happening? But it seems like it's pretty frequent, you know, lots of different places that we don't necessarily see it.
Yeah, I do think it's better.
So the other thing that we know, right, is anytime you put up a barrier, you force the water off to the side, right? So speaking to what you're talking about there at Old Harbor Point, that really does put the neighbor's property in more
Yes.
jeopardy, right? So St. Andrews and Hurricane Sandy, they lost over a quarter of an acre just into the ocean, stone walls, stairs, everything gone. But it's vulnerable to this, if the, and so are the other neighbors to the south,
Absolutely.
right? So that whole Old Harbor Point, because I think what you're talking about is closer to Pebbly Beach, right? But so we do have to think about
Yeah,
mitigating damage to
Yeah.
the people down the way, because not everybody wants to go to this extreme. And not everybody wants to look at this, like that, you know, we can't bubble wrap the island. Right, like, I mean, that's.
yeah.
I don't know what the answer is.
But, you know, Martha raised that point as well. I mean, it isn't sort of part of the argument for the compelling need for municipal action is that these projects don't only affect the person who's the private landholder, it affects the butters as well. And I mean, that's an essential part of all planning and zoning is how does this project that's being proposed affect the butters?
Right.
I mean, they also roll the sediment, stream of sediment, okay, so sediment that should be replenishing beaches, up and downstream will no longer get that sediment because it's been held behind this particular barrier. And the other thing that maybe not everyone is aware of is when they do a project like this, they actually have to excavate the bluff. So if you're putting up a 4-foot barrier at the base of the bluff, you cannot extend that barrier beyond the edge of the original bluff. So you have to dig out the bluff 4 feet to do it, which means you're essentially destroying part of what we rely on for protection. And then if, of course, if the project fails, you're actually worse off than if you'd never started. So there are all sorts of downstream consequences of even starting something.
Yes.
Which is why you should have seen it table.
And if we need to, that we build our own.
Well, we have to.
Yeah, I'm ready now. We know it. So the people, do we have, I think we have that forward of people in the square. All right, item 6, begin discussion of drainage restructuring on north and south parking lots on Beach Corner Road. So here do I put this item on? Yes, Carl, sorry, I didn't see your hand. I'm sorry about that.
I didn't have a hand up, but you had said that you were asking the rest of the councilors if one of them is going to join you.
Yes.
Did you get that, or did I
I
miss it?
figured someone would tell me if they wanted to.
All right. Thank you.
I will. Good. Unless this is. Among. So you can text somebody down there.
So, some of you, I think. My bus, the floor bustler, I think Claire might have been, were here several weeks ago when we had a really good lengthy conversation with Jenny Jeremiah and Marion Crawford and Mel Shea and others sort of about the parking lots, but then not just about the parking lots, but about a bigger question of ocean water coming through where the town beach pavilion is, and it's a and Mike was the one where he's at. I was thrilled that he did. But I think I hope that we had some consensus in that meeting that we have an opportunity here to think bigger and more broadly. In other words, not just I'm totally making this up, not putting a new perforated pipe along Cornet Road, but actually, what are we going to do with those parks? So what are we going to do with the pavilion? What are we going to do with those dunes? Do we move the pavilion at some point and redo those dunes? Do we there's a whole range of things we can do. I would really like to start having a conversation that presumably, Mike would lead, but and it's too bad he's here because I was going to volunteer for all kinds of stuff. But I just think that particular stretch, when you I'm sure people know this, but that area, those lots across the way are now preserved. I believe in closing has happened. One of the provisions in that transaction is that the town can actually install green infrastructure on that side of Cornet Road, and in front of those, I assume it would be on the corner or the side of those lots, but. I guess, I felt like there was some consensus that we have an opportunity to do something there. You know, my bet is that both US senators are really interested in this coastal resiliency stuff. They have been very good to Block Island. The Sea Level Rise Committee and others in town government have worked very hard to get a substantial amount of grant money that we're very grateful for. I would like to start a real conversation around, because I think it's, look, when I talk about moving the beach pavilion or rebuilding those blocks, it's like, you know, a boy can dream, but all of a sudden that's a pretty substantial project. But in my opinion, if we're gonna be what we want to be in 50 years, we better be doing big projects. You know, because nature will decide that the pavilion doesn't belong there, or that the parking lots don't belong there. I don't have some grand plan, except that, as I said, as we were all saying on the erosion protection stuff, if we don't start working on a big solution, a big solution, and not just that we need one, if we don't start working on a big solution, we're going to be sorry in a year if we didn't start. In my opinion, because it's not going to be any better in a year. In fact, if I were laying down $5, I would bet that it's going to be worse in a year. And it seems to cascade in a way that's not just when it gets worse, it gets worse. Anyway, I don't know if I don't really have a sense of the process. We could schedule I was thinking we could schedule a special work session to really just do a deep dive. Mike, would you be willing to do that?
Yeah.
Really just do a deep dive on the thing and pointing out all the problems and challenges and I'd even be willing to have and I think they would participate, White House and Reed's local chiefs of staff be a part of that conversation. You know, let's say this is urgent and we need to do something about it. And that isn't we may have to do stopgaps as we go along, but that is a genuine long-term significant play there. Clarence.
I just have I think that's a great idea.
Please identify yourself.
I'm here to remember. And my question is, a lot of that grant money was for getting engineering work done and getting professionals in the room to give us advice about what needs to get done. And I'm sorry, Mary Ann isn't here because I bet she would be the person to ask this question of, but where does that stand, hiring those people to help us with this conversation? Because that was really the reason for going for those specific grants. So I'm just wondering.
You've heard half an hour of my nonsense tonight, and I know nothing about the engineering, so that's essential.
Yeah, so getting those people to be part of this conversation. And I also wanted to just say that you guys put together the Sea Level Rise Committee. And I think that we have a number of us here who this conversation is very empowering, hearing what you guys want from this committee. And I'm hopeful that with these conversations going on, we have formed new working groups to focus on specific issues. So if it is helpful to the council for the Sea Level Rise to take those working groups, pull in members to start doing these things, because I think you're exactly right. We've been talking about this stuff. and we want to do something. So
Great.
just.
So what if we did this? How do people feel about this? What if we schedule a work session that is specifically focused on that part of Clonmec Road? We include everybody on sea level rise. We figure out whether we can get, if we think it would be worthwhile, get some of the Washington staff to, really kind of say, oh gosh, there's a big thing going on there. That would inform what you're talking about, Claire, which is, maybe one of the things is a subgroup who does dune design with an engineer. What am I? I really do fear that we're gonna be here next March 4th. Sort of without at least, a long-term plan for what we're gonna do there. The first phase is gonna be this, and the second phase is gonna be, if we can get money, we're gonna do that. And we're working with people in DC about what the state, how much would it cost to do state-of-the-art walkovers on the dunes, and how do we pay for those? And what is the most advanced handicapped access ramp to ensure that everybody gets to enjoy the water? And I would really like to get to that place. And my own opinion is that at some point we gotta pick a spot to work on. Because we can talk about 48 different spots, probably 480 different spots that need attention. Let's pick one and let's get moving.
I don't want to make this project bigger before we've even started,
Yes,
but I don't,
why not?
well, okay.
It's easy now. Exactly.
If we're talking about the town beach lots, we really should be talking about Scotch Beach also. Which, I mean, I don't know, I've listened to Mike talk before about how you mitigate the path of the water during something like that. And Scotch Beach to me looks like an ocean super highway, like ready to go.
The Scotch Beach parking lot there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like there's nothing to prevent the ocean just from pouring down, and the erosion there over the last couple months is pretty dramatic. I don't know, just,
yeah.
I mean, the erosion the last couple months is pretty dramatic everywhere around the entire island. So.
Yeah.
That,
Around the whole coast. I mean, it's amazing how bad it is on the other side.
We don't care about it.
Well, the problem is, I feel like I'm on this ridiculous Facebook page, and I feel like all I'm doing the same. Haven't you had storms before?
Yeah.
This is what we've been dealing with forever. People finally realizing that. But I think you have to, before we get into any of this, when you talk about rebuilding the dune and redoing this and redoing that, where is the dune going? I mean, we know the dune is moved in, the width of the dune. I have pictures, I can prove it. The west face of the dune used to be online with the west face of the pavilion. When the pavilion was built. And it is just moved into the park in lot.
And that is precisely the kind of practice,
But that's-
and I think we have to deal with.
But I think there's a philosophical, are we just gonna let the ocean come in? It has to sort of be set out before we get into what we're going to do, because then we're just chasing, this person wants this and this person wants that.
Well, where do you think we should start? I think we should start
with
with a work set.
what we want to do.
Yeah,
And listen to what Michael said.
absolutely.
Mike Shea.
Thank you for coming.
Pleasure. I would have to say that, if we're gonna pinpoint a spot, I think it would be at the town beach, because I think it probably is our. It has so many multiple issues. Right there, and if we drag our feet on that, that's what we're gonna get problems. I also think it's imperative that we get
professionals,
Yes.
consultants, engineers. Maybe with our senators, that might be a way to do something. Correct. people.
Can I ask you something? Can I ask you something before we, because Claire's comment brought this to mind. Can you, see whether there are any of these major engineering consulting firms who have specialized in doing this kind of stuff? You know, because that's not, we have a wonderful town engineer, but there are large, you know, consulting engineering companies who are doing this stuff literally all over the world.
And like I said, this is a huge,
Yeah.
multifaceted project.
Yeah, gigantic.
We're talking. Not just road runoff.
Right.
Ocean.
Exactly, that, you know, you said that so well in our meeting a few weeks ago, it's like. It's really nice that we're dealing with the runoff from the crown of the road, I'm a little worried about the ocean.
Yeah.
Through there.
But I do think,
Getting professionals.
getting professionals in. And utilizing that.
Yes, Claire, you had.
Sorry, I was
Don't-
just
don't
gonna
wait.
say to your point, just as part of those applications we put together, we consulted with three different
Right.
three different consulting firms. So they're already familiar with what, and they are firms that specialize in.
Will you send most of mine?
Yes.
So can I just ask, either one of you, like, what's the process here? So if you guys have already talked to three firms
That was
And
to
you-
get, an idea of how much it was gonna cost.
In order
So that
to
we
write the
could-
grant.
So that we could write the grant.
okay, but now you've received the grant,
Yes.
okay.
And my question, I guess, is, and I'm sorry if I haven't followed up, if this is something we should have been doing. We got the money and I haven't really heard what happened next. You know, I know these engineering firms we spoke to before, and I'm really, I just don't know what is happening next. So maybe there's, you know, maybe Mary Ann's been working on this, maybe Allison's been working on this.
Right, so is that the process?
Allison's hand.
Oh, she's, oh.
Hi, Allison, sorry, you're not on camera, so we didn't see that little yellow image up there.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Claire's comment on the current
Allison,
status
we can't
of
hear
our.
you, hold on one second.
Should be able to talk.
Can you hear me now?
Allison, can you say?
I'm not on mute. Can you not hear me? Let me check. Let's see.
She's not muted.
Nick just texted me, he can hear Allison.
Right.
but we
How does
can't.
that, can you hear me now?
There was something Keisha had trouble with on the bottom of the screen one time, like the volume. Is there a volume? button?
Allison, bear with us over there.
Hmm.
Can I ask a silly question, is the volume on?
That's what
That's what we
Molly
just,
Oh,
just a
sorry.
thing, because that was the problem one time.
Maybe it's something in here.
Yeah, same.
I have my volume all the way up.
Allison?
How about now?
I don't know.
No.
Maybe while we wait for Allison, I can add a little bit of information. I think there was a call on February 13th, we were supposed to be with Judy, Mary Ann, and the Brown, and sort of they talked about this. What they wanted the grant to improve, but it was a goal and the funding that we requested. And I thought Judy said that the plan is an RFP supposed to be submit, going out for bid to procure the services that we need to implement the grant.
Laura, would you remind us that we would like Marianne to share with us the RFP so that we know what we're bidding for, please?
That it's not, there's nothing that, but it's.
I think
Yeah.
I'll put up the parking down. No.
About which,
State. Used to be, they were doing it years ago, right?
maybe,
Hundred percent no. It was discussed, no.
oh, it's us.
No, I'm just going back.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, possibly, it's bad.
Well, I,
Yes.
that's not my.
Wait.
So when I was on the referee, we did bring over proposals. They didn't pass, but it was
One?
passed. Yeah. That was a
Allison?
while ago.
Yes.
Oh,
We heard something.
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Oh, great. So in regard to the current status of the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank's funding for the Corneck Road dune restoration project, we are in the process of just, we've been meeting with the Infrastructure Bank to finalize the budget because we received a partial funding amount, so we had to rework the budget. And part of that was the towns wanting to move some of that funding into implementation, because since they did a partial award, they were funding us just for planning and design, and we wanted to move forward with implementation, so we are rearranging some of the budget, and then we need to execute a contract with the Infrastructure Bank. So that's coming within a couple weeks, and executing a grant with the Infrastructure Bank, and then it would be preparing the RFP. That's going to be a combined RFP with the NIFWIF funding that we received, the 185,000 from NIFWIF. So then we would hire one firm combining those funding, because the NIFWIF serves as our match for the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank Municipal Resiliency Funding. So it's over $650,000. It'll be one firm that'll be awarded the contract, and it would be planning and implementation.
Thank you, Allison. Can you hear me?
Yep. So, I mean, hopefully that would be spring for, the RFP being advertised and the process starting, and that process will involve public engagement.
I gotta be honest with you, Allison, I would like to see what we're going out to RFP for. I have not seen it.
The grant language?
No, not the grant language.
Well, we don't have the RFP written yet, but I can provide, of course, the grant application language that was approved, that was awarded, and then when we write we haven't drafted the RFP yet.
I thought you said you were working on that, and you were working with the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank on changing up because we were partially funded.
Well, the budget for what was awarded, so the scope of work, is in development, and then actually writing that out hasn't been drafted yet, but obviously a lot of the language was used in the grant application would be included in that.
That raises a question. That raises a question for me, so. You follow down the line, who initially determines within our community what that RFP should look like? I mean, yes, we can have our planner and the C-level really come up with ideas, but who has the authority and its arm to approve that RFP? Or should there be? I think there should be.
I think at the very least, as a member of the town council, I would like to see the draft, to get a sense and that's my sense of it.
I don't know what the grant said, might give an idea.
You do not. Allison, would you mind sending us that stuff so that we can share it with, people like Mike and. I mean, I'm a little flabbergasted.
I'm not sure what so the Sea
My-
Level Rise Committee, I worked with the Sea Level Rise Committee on the grant applications that went forward.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not flabbergasted with you, Allison, I apologize, that I.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, Mike Shea, who from Public Works is not seeing the grant language. So it occurs to me it would be very helpful for him to see it.
Sure, yeah. No, I know we've communicated with Mike on some questions on and some input on it and relates to Scotch Beach, Town Beach, dunes. And again, it's not, the projects specifically haven't been identified. This is a planning and design work. We've identified the issues, the concern, the vulnerabilities. And so nothing's been designed or identified at this point. We had the Scotch Beach concept plan that was in our 2017 Horneck Road Transportation Resiliency plan. So that Scotch Beach concept was included. So that's specifically identified as something to be further investigated and engineered. And so again, it's mostly planning, design work, modeling. So no specific solutions have been identified to reach some sort of consensus as a community to move forward on, but that's going to be part of the process of throughout this grant, throughout this application, not the application, but the consultant team will be helping the community identify those solutions, engineer them so that they're ready for implementation. And we do have some funding that will go towards implementation of those solutions that are identified.
As you hopefully heard, we're going to schedule a work session soon. And it would be, to say you're essential would be an understatement, but really sort of going through this stuff, I think, with the community. I mean, part of my thought on this is, as a community, we need to understand that we are going to have to do big things. And to me, the best way to prepare the community for that is to have what you're including in your program, which is having some experts make sure that we're developing a consensus in the community around the things that we have to do. So that'll be an important part of that work session. Thank you so much, Allison.
And I would like to think you said, I think it's really, really important to focus on one aspect and not be going up and down and around, and that's what always gets us off track. Everybody always has a different project. And I know there was a problem with the roads. I know there's a problem with Spring Street, and there was a problem. I think DOT has that information, pretty sure. And there's a problem with the beach road. But I think as far as this goes, I think we really should focus on the beach and not get sidetracked by some other things.
I think I agree. I mean, I think we need to, let's get going. Any other comments or questions? I really appreciate people's input and thoughtfulness about this. A couple of quick things. Item number 7, discuss an act on authorizing the town manager to submit a grant application to the Rhode Island Historic Preservation and Heritage Commission for research and ground penetrating radar for the island cemetery. This is something we've talked about. Mike, you're on board doing this grant? We have to take action to authorize the town manager to, apply for this grant. Can I have a motion to that effect? Great, second,
Second.
all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, the ayes have it. We have reappointments, to the Board of Canvassers under item 8A. Can I have a motion to appoint Heather Russo, Peter Russo? That's gonna be her new nickname. The H, second H is missing. I'm gonna wave to her and call her Peter. Peter Russo, for one 5-year term. Yeah. Hillary Sue and Danielle Bates, each to 1-year terms. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. And of course, we appreciate the work of all three of those and the other canvassers and the town clerk's office. If you're paying attention to things, you would know how hard a job that is and how much work goes into it. It's not just passing out pieces of paper. In addition, just announcing again that we have an opening on the Commission for Motor Vehicles for Hire. That would be for a non-licensee. We have an opening on the Police Advisory Committee. We have Service Commission, 1 5-year term and 2 alternate positions with 1 year. And the same on water. I will say again, we were very lucky to get a rock star volunteer recently for those 2 commissions, and we need more. That is a vital part of the town's infrastructure. It's more important every year. And I think it is always an area that can use new thinking, new questioning, new approaches. So please, if you have any interest, that's a good place to get involved in town government that really impacts the day-to-day of our lives. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. I say. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. It's good.
So, about 10 years ago, I did.
What is this?
Yeah.
If I didn't hate Zoom before, I don't know how I manage it. Every time I have to do a meeting and I have Zoom control, something goes wrong. And I'm gonna wait it out. At some point, it's gonna run out of problems. I'll still be sitting. I mean, the camera needs to be reset, which I'm gonna do now because
Zoom so much.
you can hate on them. Like, how come I can't hear them? I'm like, I don't know.
We had to do a Zoom meeting recently and
I did.
I could not, like.
Same thing, like every time I touch this thing.
Recently for something, and I'm
Yes,
like,
you did.